I welcome you all to the Indian polity class. We will continue with the Constitution. In the last class, we have seen Article 44, Uniform Civil Code, which is a directive, indirective principles of state policy in Part 4 of the Constitution. Remember, from examination point of view, this is the only directive in the directive principles of state policy in Part 4 remaining unimplemented, even partly so far, by the successive governments. Today we will see how these directives were included in Part 4 instead of in fundamental rights in Part 3 or in any other provisions of the Constitution. They could have included in the special provision. Why they have not included in Part 3? These are all very important provisions, as you see. So, why they have not included in the Part 3 or fundamental rights? Instead, they thought in their own wisdom to include these in the Part 4 of the Constitution. That is what today we will see. As you know, Mr. B.N. Rao, he is the advisor to the Constituent Assembly. He is the person who is very knowledgeable and constitutional expert. He collected, of course, the constitutions of all modern countries. And after having perused, after having examined, he divided the rights of the individuals, citizens, into two heads. One is justiciable, which can be enforced through court of law by virtue of Article 13 and Article 32. These are all justiciable. One part is justiciable. And another is, which are no less important, but at the same time, they cannot be, practically it is not possible to implement them. By thus, immediately, they should be implemented by in the due course of time. These are mainly socio-economic policies. So, he thought this should be implemented in the phased manner and cannot be implemented at the same time. So, he thought it fit to include them in Part 4 under directive principles of state policy. He made such a recommendation to the drafting committee of the Constitution, which was headed by Dr. Ambedkar. And the drafting committee accepted the recommendations of Dr. B.N. Rao and they have included. Nevertheless, remember, Constituent Assembly was careful to make it a point in Article 37. Article 37 makes it clear that these principles are fundamental in the governance of the country and it is the duty of the state to apply these principles while making laws to govern the nation. I remember to have told you the term fundamental and duty have been included only in this article. You cannot find in any other article the term duty. So a duty has been imposed upon the state to apply these principles in making law. It is their wisdom. And the real force behind directive principles of state policy is political. Remember, even though it contained socio-economic principles, the real force behind this is political. Now, while describing directive principles of state policy, Alladi Krishnaswamy Iyer, one of the members of the Constituent Assembly, he says, no ministry responsible to the people can ignore directive principles of state policy. Because no ministry can ignore. No minister can ignore. That is the intention of Mr. Iyer. Similarly, Dr. Ambedkar says that a government which has been voted by the people of the country cannot ignore the directives in Part 4. If any government ignores, remember, they have to counter the people, they have to see the people, they have to answer the electorate who have put them in power at the time of elections. So this is the view of Dr. Ambedkar and Alladi Krishna Samayar regarding the importance of directive principle state policy. Now, what are the difficulties for the framers of the Constitution to include these principles in the fundamental right in part 3 and made them justiciable? They could have included, it was only from what is called 12 to 32, add this also, this is only another 30, 35, you could have included. No, there are some reasons. If you appreciate, you will also understand. Number 1, inadequate finance. You know drain theory? Complete our entire money has been, dwindled. They have exploited British, not only British. Why British? Is French, Danish, Dutch, Muslims, Mughals, Khilji, slave, all dynasties. They have completely exploited India. And we have no money. When the Britishers left, we don't have any money at all. Number 1. This is the first reason. Secondly, as this right to education, right to work, these are all requiring very vast resources. We don't have such money. Secondly, the diversity of the nation. Even after 70 years, 1950, today 2020, we are communicating our thoughts only through English. Remember, there is no common language, there is no common religion, there is no common culture, there is no common climate, nothing is common. And full illiteracy, vast diversity, vast backwardness, all these things make it, you have to go slow. Don't be hurry. Because the nation already experienced 560 native states. So, you have to fools rush in where the wise people fear to tread. So, you have to be fearful. Go slow. Number 2. Secondly, the country was preoccupied. The country was preoccupied in handling the communal rights. Number 1. Unification of states. Just imagine Sardar Patel is not there. India would have, it is humanly impossible. Sardar Patel and V.P. Menon and Jawaharlal Nehru, all the 3 people who combined all the states, major contribution by Sardar Patel and V.P. Menon. And they have, day and night they worked to unify in India. Otherwise, there was, except Dalhousie and Aurangzeb, India was never united. It's all peace. So, unification of country and bilateral relations with the neighboring countries, Indo-Pakistan, Indo-China, Indo-Bangladesh, still the legacy is still continuing. These are all the 3 reasons which make the directive principles being included separately in part 4 instead of being included in part 3. Now, secondly, how do you classify these directive principles? How do you classify? Remember, there are 3 classifications. Broad classifications are 3. Number 1, socialistic. Number 2, Gandhian. Number 3, liberal and intellectual. Kindly note, Constitution does not classify. In Constitution, you will not find such a classification of socialistic, Gandhian or liberal or intellectual, etc. This is constitutional experts for understanding. They have classified it. What is called socialistic? Socialistic means it is all are equal in the eyes of law. What we are told in Article 14 is reflected in socialist principles. What are those that we should instead in brief I will tell you. What are the socialistic principles? First is Article 38. Remember, first is Article 38. Welfare of the people and minimizing the inequality in income, facility, status and opportunity. This is number 1, 38. Then 39, adequate means of livelihood, equitable distribution of material resources, prevention of concentration of wealth and means of production, equal pay for equal work, and preservation of health for the workers and the children, and also opportunity for healthy development of children. 39. Remember, you should not forget the 38 and 39 put together, we call this as distributive justice. What does it mean? Distributive justice. The justice is distributed among all the people. It is like inclusive growth. So this is inclusive justice. So 38 and 39 from examination point of view, it is called distributive justice. Then 39A, equal justice and free legal aid. Then Article 41, right to education, right to work and right to public assistance in the case of unemployment, old age, sickness and disablement. And Article 42, just and humane conditions of work and maternity relief. Maternity relief, remember. Article 43, living wage. Remember, living wage, standard of life and social cultural opportunities for workers. Then Article 43A, participation of workers in management. Participation of workers in management. Then Article 47, to increase the nutritional value and standard of living and public health. This, up to this, we call this as socialistic principles. Then we come to Gandhian principle. First is, you remember, Article 40, Village Panchayat, 73rd and 74th Amendment Act, 1992, implemented by Mr. Narasimha Rao government. This is Article 40, this is a Gandhian principle. Then comes Article 43, promotion of cottage industries. Remember, Article 43, promotion of cottage industries. Then 43B, promotion of cooperative societies. Then 46, promotion of educational and economic interest of scheduled caste, scheduled tribe and other weaker sections of society. Remember, base for reservation policy. Both EWS as well as SC/ST reservation, OBC reservation, this is the base, is the foundation. Then Article 47, prohibition of intoxicating drinks and drugs, very important. Then Article 48, prohibition of cow slaughter, currently very important. Then comes liberal and intellectual principles. Article 44, I have already explained how important it is, Uniform Civil Code. Article 45, early childhood care and education for children up to the age of 6. Then Article 48, organization of agriculture and animal husbandry in modern lines. Article 48A, to improve environment, forest and wildlife. Article 49, what is meant by protection of monuments and places of national importance. Article 50, separation of executive from judiciary in public service. Article 51, remember, very important, promotion of international peace and security. So, this is the three classifications. This is the three classifications which Constitution provides. But the Constitution does not provide the classification. We unearthed, for easy understanding, we have classified. This is socialistic principle, then Gandhian principle, and what is known as liberal and intellectual principle. In this, remember, Uniform Civil Code remains still unimplemented. Even partly it has not been implemented, remember. That is the most important. Rest of the thing, prohibition, only Gujarat is implementing. Most of the Gandhian principle, it is difficult to implement. There is no consensus so far. And Uniform Civil Code also, as I have explained in the last class, there is no consensus. So, it remains to be implemented. With this, we complete the class. We will take in continuation tomorrow. Thank you.